two books on. Let me
No,
see. No, up was better. Yeah.
all right. I think we're live. Let's see. Hello. Let's see where we are. If you can see it. Hello, hello. We're getting ready. We're getting ready.
It is Friday evening.
And the sister chat is live. So let's just check. Give us a minute. Waiting to see who comes into the room. Who's in the room? Who's in the room? Give us a minute. We didn't give y'all any music tonight.
But let me tell you, I had to grab my pencil and paper for this sister chat.
Did
I am
you?
ready. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
well, let me get mine. I'm gonna use pink for love, and we can get ready. So I'm using mine as well. All right. So I see we got a couple people with us so far. Hello, Melissa and Jackie. Gail is here from New York.
Hey, everyone.
That is good. I would love for you to tell us where you are watching from. We would love to know where you are. Where are you watching? Where are you tonight? Drop your location. So, yes, how are you guys doing? How is everyone doing? Are y'all ready for Sister Chat, the uncut marriage version? We got Gail here from New York. Hey, Gail. DJ Adele, sup, joining us on YouTube. Got Jackie Santos Buenos from Jersey.
Oh,
Melissa
this is
in
so exciting.
Georgia. Yes, Jackie. Jackie's in Jersey. Monica Creel, Windsor Mill, Maryland. So
Welcome, Monica.
we are excited to talk to y'all tonight. Listen, if suicide awareness and prevention wasn't so prevalent and important to me, we'd have started talking about marriage already. But it was. So we put it on hold until tonight, and we are doing a series because there are a lot of things that we want to talk about. So if you have seen any of the post about what has inspired us, we have been inspired through our own personal conversations about marriage at first sight. And what else, LaShawn?
Oh, we started with Marriage Boot Camp was one of the shows with
Yeah.
is that with Spirit?
No,
Is that
love goals. Love goals.
Love
Spirit.
Goals?
That's where it started. So
Oh, I love Goals. Even the title, Love Goals, of
yeah.
that show. And watching the way Spirit worked with those couples, that was so exciting. So yeah, Love Goals, Marriage Boot Camp,
Marriage boot camp.
Love and Marriage,
Love and marriage. Huntsville.
Huntsville.
And we have really been just talking about these shows, kind of keeping up, talking about having our own discussion. I think it kind of fueled when I was like, okay, Shawnee, we're gonna do this. Kari and I are watching it, you and Dre watch it, and then we're gonna talk. I mean, listen, this COVID quarantine has had us do things we had never done before. So we just started having little conversations and different things. So this marriage thing, though, has really ignited for us. And so it's been crazy. So first of all, let's go back because, we always start this thing with how was your day or week? So last Friday, we ended and talking about marriage, and just last Friday was just amazing. So thank you to everyone who participated, who left comments, who joined the conversation, because while we expected 30 minutes, it was really, really great. And we've gotten so much feedback from the listeners, from people who are joining us about how important that conversation was. So if you didn't get a chance to join us last week, our goal was suicide prevention and awareness, and we kind of transitioned into mental health and uh, just the Black Lives Matter and so many things. So it was awesome.
Well,
So my sister, how
yes.
how was your week?
The check-in this week was good. We're still teaching distant, and it's I can see a lot of the families and teachers are struggling. We did get information late yesterday that our superintendent is reopening the schools for teachers October 19th. And the goal would be that we would teach remotely from our teaching spaces, but students would be maybe following up a month later. And so initially, when I, got the news, immediately there was a social media buzz, lots of anxiety and stress, and a lot of conversation around it. So in 24 hours, though, later, I was able to kind of reframe it and say, let me focus on being in the moment. And one of my supervisors, she shared a quote that I thought was very profound. She said, focus on living where your feet are grounded.
Mm, that's good.
Yeah. And so she said, don't worry, we will be united. We will get through it. We will not leave you guys without any direction. But for
Mhm.
right now, focus on living where your feet are. And I was like, that's about being mindful. So, the anxiety is when we start worrying about the future, depression, living in the past, but present is the gift of being in the moment. So that's kind of where I sit. And then I had the excitement of knowing that on a Friday night, I do sister chat. So looking forward to our conversation tonight has put me in a space of joy.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm probably a stalker because all week I'm like, Sean, what about this? We should talk about this, or we're gonna talk about that. And Sean, I'm just glad you put up with me. I mean, for not just for Sister Chat, but for the past, what was it, 91?
Oh, yes.
29 years. So we're almost going on 3 decades of love. So thanks for putting up with me. We got our own little relationship going on. So I think we know relationships. I think we can really talk to relationships, friendships, and marriage. But my week has been amazing. Nothing short of amazing. I'm just in awe of what God is doing. As you know, and some people know I've been struggling with this knee. So I didn't get the best report this week, but
Mm.
I'm grateful because I'm walking and we now know how to move forward walking. Look at that. Look at that. So that I was glad that didn't sting. So, I took that news and I just ran with it, like, okay, this is
You
what it
ran with
is.
it.
I ran with it, pun intended. Even when I got there, I knew it wasn't going to be, great, but I was just like, okay, guys, so this is what we do. So, I understand there'll be some barriers to some things I'd like to do, but I also know that God is still great. So I expected the week to be heavy because I had the big thing coming up today. And so my attention had been focused on really preparing for today. So today was great for me. I got the opportunity to do a virtual training, and as we planned for, they told me that the training would be available to thousands of mental health workers. So today I got the feedback from the first 400 plus, and I think I was teary eyed because it just felt so good to be able to have that opportunity. And so I'm kind of on cloud nine, and it's been a great week. So I'm looking forward to what's next. We've already talked, and a lot of stuff has already happened and is in the works. And so I'm so excited you're on this journey with me.
Yes, I am. And it's been a great collaboration. I mean, you are more established in your business. You've been an entrepreneur now 3 years. Three? Three.
Two with this, but
Okay.
we started that first business at 16, so that's 31 years ago.
Yes.
my
But
grandma, my grandma's kitchen was 31 years ago.
yes, that is true. Oh my goodness. Yes.
And then when you met me, I had a business.
When
You
I
know,
met you.
so we were
So
doing nails and ponytails in the college.
nails and ponytails in college. Yes, taking it. And, it's funny. I know you and I talked to Mariah and Brianna about, your side hustle. And it's funny, the side hustles that these young people have today are completely different than what we were doing.
What we were doing. They're on a whole new thing, but it's awesome just to see them be able to have it. So let's jump in. I think it's unique that we get to do this marriage thing, right? I'm going to do a quick little show you something I've been working on.
Does that say sister chat?
Let's go sister chat. So I don't want to ruin it for you, but I sent you one today. And yours doesn't look like this, but I was super excited.
Oh, yes. It is so cute. So, for anyone who doesn't know, along with having her own private practice, my sister and her husband also do custom T-shirts and masks and aprons. I heard you wanted aprons today.
That was a gift. Those were gifts. That wasn't a part of the product line. But yes, I wanted to let you know that yours is in the mail. I wish I could have got it to you sooner, but I can't wait for you to see it because yours really represents me and not you. But that's how I do anyway. Super excited. And do you know why I chose this color? Can you guess?
Well, I am gonna guess that it has something to do with our origin story.
Story.
Yeah. So we met at Cheney University, CU. And so was that 1991? 91. 1991. You were a freshman.
I was.
And I was your resident advisor. I think it may have been my junior year.
Yep. Yes, it was, because you had 2 years left when I got there. So I chose blue for the CU. I thought it was very fitting for us, for our relationship, for our start, and for your marriage, right? Because it's no secret, it's no question. I'm going to put it out here now for those that do not know. LaShawn got that there amazing husband that she has as a result of saving my life. So, you see people who save people's lives all the time. And they go on shows like Ellen and stuff, and they get a reward because they get to meet the person who saved their life. Well, it was a little different for me. For me, LaShawn saved my life one night by the elevator in the hallway on the 7th floor of what hall?
Tubman.
So she saved my life, and somehow we created a bond, and that's where the love story began. She became my jitney to the ambulance. I was very sickly back.
For anyone who doesn't know what a jitney is, that's pre-Uber. You have a friend with a car, and you get them to take you places, and you give them gas money.
Yes, most people needed to go to the store, but not me. Where did I go, Shawnee?
The emergency room.
To the emergency room.
Emergency room.
Good God. I tell you what. Yes, Tony. Tubman. Listen, I tell you what.
Miss Thorne.
Miss Thorne. If y'all want to know why I'm not coming outside during COVID, because I spent 10 years in the hospital, as Dre says, with a easy pass.
Oh my God, yes, he did used to tease you.
EREP. He's an emergency room easy pass for my for my asthma. So that's why I'm not playing with y'all. But anyway, so LaShawn's love story started because she saved my life. And we're gonna talk about marriage. And LaShawn, first, well, second, third, fourth. I mean, you know me. I just want to say thank you because you have been such an amazing example of a wife. I mean, and the thank you is twofold because you have taught me how to be a wife and because I didn't have to fight you for messing over my brother. So, so really, I mean, that was really number one.
So wait, for anyone who doesn't know, my husband, which is her brother, um, let me tell you. So where people get confused is we no longer use in-law, right? So when I say this is my sister, often people say, "Oh, you guys look alike," and then they want to they're like, "But wait, I thought you said you were only child." So anyone who knows me before 1993, I got married in 95, but engaged in 93. They're always like, "Well, where did she get these siblings from?" Because now she has a lot of sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, to the stylist extraordinaire.
So that is
Y'all better check out Slice Alexander for your hair.
yes. So we just sisters. So,
Yes.
but it is they are my sisters by marriage. For anyone who knew me when I was a Smiley, so that does confuse people. But yes, Sonia, we are just sisters. That's right.
Sisters. All right, so we're gonna jump into marriage. LaShawn has been married how many days?
Oh, 9,000. What? Nine? Oh gosh. So I counted in years, not days.
You know that's not how I count.
No, yeah, you count
9,085 days.
9,085 days. That sounds like a long time. And so I guess if I started saying 9,085 days, people would really be blown away because when I say 25 years, November 4th this year, people go,
yes.
Yeah.
So tell me, let's start from the beginning. We've been talking about marriage at first sight. So just so everyone knows that when we talk about this series, and we are inviting people to join us on a series, so we'll talk more about that at the end. But when we talk about this series, we've watched Married at First Sight. And so we have gone back and forth over whether we could have done it. If you haven't watched it, it's an excellent way to look at relationships and coming together. And so we've shared that. So we're going to be talking from concepts that we've seen on Married at First Sight, Love and Marriage Huntsville, Love Goals, Boot Camp. I'm really just giving a good personal perspective as to how we feel and how that relates to our marriage or just relationships. So dating and what that looks like. So when we think about marriage at first sight, those couples do not get to meet one another until they are at the altar. So they didn't get to do any of the I like him or I like her or any of those things. It simply was, yo, what's up? I'm your bride. What's up? I'm your husband. So,
and I personally, I enjoyed the courtship. My husband and I, Andre, we dated for 2 years and then we were engaged for about a year and a half. And I enjoyed the courtship. So I don't know if marriage at first sight, how that would work for me. I think it's an interesting concept. I know they do a lot of like questionnaire and there's some pre-matching that happens. So I love our beginning story. I mean, I still remember our first date. I don't know if cousin Selena is listening, but my first date, and this is how I knew my husband was perfect for me because he is such a family guy. So on our first date, he brought or Selena went with us. We went to the movies on our first like official date. And so that is kind of our love story. Our love story revolves around family and it's very inclusive of family. So that love at first sight, I'm not sure. What is your take on it?
I beg to differ because you're talking about your first date. You should be talking about the first glimpse you got when he came up to the school to talk to me, and ever since then you was on your way to Jersey. So don't.
I said first date. So that was our first official date. But no, when I first met him, yes, it was in the dorm. Your family came to visit you. I remember like it was yesterday.
The point I'm making is that you could have married him that day because you were smitten in the room at lunch, and all of a sudden it was like you met him, and within 5 days you were like, you know how to get home? And of course I lied and was like, yeah. So you might could have done marriage at first sight.
I don't know if I would have been ready though.
Well, you wouldn't have been ready.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I watch it with Kyrie, and I say that I could do marriage at first sight. Because I believe that it really is about growing and growing into that relationship. So we've talked to our jeweler. Actually, they had an arranged marriage. Anybody shout out to Diamond Hut, Jersey City. Sean and his wife had an arranged marriage, and we talked to them when we were preparing for marriage about it, and they explained to us clearly what that meant for them, how they were matched, their families matched them, and they came to love. And that was very encouraging for us, right? I believe that it could work, and it might cut out some of the little mess. Folk be choosing the wrong people.
Now that is true. Then now, you raise a good point. That's something to think about, because left on our own, we often marry the person for what we hope they will become, not for the person that we see, not looking at those qualities and traits. So I can see where, okay.
I think too, for Kyrie and I, it was the same. We were best friends for 7 years, like brothers. People would ask, is that your husband or is that your brother? They'd be confused. He had to be one or the other. I'd be like, he's not my brother. And then they'd be like, he's your husband. No, he's not my husband. So, I think that is essential. But I met him, we met at a gala, but our friendship bloomed immediately. So we met in December, and then by March we worked together, and we immediately were like this. So he really was my best friend, my ride or die, like everything. And so I was always around him and his family. So they had the store in Jersey City. And so I would go hang out at the store with him and his family. And from the time that I met him, I called him my baby's daddy. Like, so I'd be going in the store, like, my baby daddy here, that was always the thing. So I don't know. I never imagined I would marry him, but he always had the characteristics of, an amazing man, an incredible man.
So do you think that the friendship, that foundation, do you contribute that as a success factor to your marriage today?
That is, okay, so God is first.
Yes.
Lord, without Jesus, poor Kyrie probably would be in jail for murder because his wife's crazy. But outside of that, I know that it is. We have such an incredible foundation of respect, and I respect and admire him. I think the respect that I have for him is explosive, right? Because he is such an upstanding man. So it is difficult for me to be anything other than good to him, because he is good to me. And so that respect came from our friendship. It was always there. He was supportive. Every time I performed, he made every performance except one. And I think he was out of town. Like, he saw the same thing over and over. Whenever I played, it didn't matter what I did, he was there. So that was a foundation of someone that was riding for me.
Yeah, that riding, that unwavering support. And then I think that then translates into a marriage of that unconditional love. And he's your biggest fan. Whatever you're doing, he is your supporter. And so I think that is a key foundational block in a marriage. I agree. I do.
So Melissa said, marriage at first sight is more closely aligned with how people date these days. Yes, Melissa, we don't invest the time to learn people before marriage. I think, and I think there's some validity to that, but I think that, I'm six in one, half a dozen in the other, because we're always evolving and we're always changing. So really doesn't matter who you meet, who he is when you meet him. God knows he's gonna change.
I
And
just
we're gonna change.
We are going to change, but I do think those core values, and I think there has to be an agreed alignment, like God first, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that Big Mom always used to tell me was look at the way a man will treat his mother, look at the way he treats his family.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, that's so like old school back in the day, but I just think that is so evident. I know some women are intimidated or jealous if their man, is all about family, their sisters or their mother, and they're like, oh, all you do is spend time with them. But for me, that was one of the things that I admired. Even as, we were in our early 20s and Dre would do anything for his mom, and even still to this day, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so I knew if he honored and respected his mother, he was probably going to honor and respect me in that same way. And here we are 25 years later, and I can say with absolute truth that he treats me. It helps also that he says I have a lot of the qualities of his mom, like we like the same food, so I think that probably helps. But he definitely shows me that same love and respect.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there are some foundational pieces that have to be there,
Mm-hmm.
even though we're going to grow and evolve. I
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some foundational pieces that you, like you said, Kyrie had the characteristics and qualities that you admired. I don't think those things go away. What do you
Those
think about that?
I don't think those things go away because they are at the core. And I think from a mental health perspective, we recognize that what is at our core will come out,
Mm.
right? And so I think that he has not changed to me. Lord, no, he hasn't changed. He ain't played games when I met him and doesn't play games now. So he hasn't changed for me. He is still, but Kyrie also is not like a lot of people. So
Mm.
he's very resolved in most things. Like when he makes up his mind, it is what it is. And so that probably helps because I'm so flighty
Mm.
that it kind of steadies me. But I wanted to go to what JP said. She said that we,
Hey, Jessica.
marrying to change someone. And then she said, but what we look at age 25 is different than what we look for at 35. So change is inevitable. Changing and growing together is key, maybe. So you're saying maybe, Jessica, and what I would say is absolutely, because what's heartbreaking for me is to hear people say we grew apart. It's something that I don't understand. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I absolutely believe that it can happen. But what I'm saying is that we grow together versus growing apart, which is what you're saying, Jessica. Changing and growing together is key. But for so many people, growing separates them. And so that's disheartening. If growing separated me and Kyrie, we would have been, I done changed, I done had 3 careers and all types of different things. And so we have come together. We grow as we go. And so when it looks like one of us is veering off, the other one to get a little dip and go. And vice versa. So it's a complementary, it's a dance, it's a waltz, like this is what you're doing. You like stepping and stepping. And sometimes somebody won't step on your toes. But what you do? Just ease
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, and what I really hear you saying at the core of that is, I think a lot of people get into marriage with this false expectation of thinking that it's going to be 50-50. They look for that. They look for their mate to make them happy. So I think it's about expectations and designing into the relationship that there is going to be growth, there is going to be pain, there is going to be joy, and having that communication to work it out is where I think a lot of couples get into some big hurdles, I'll say.
So Kiva says, I agree, Sean. That is a lot of where the hurdles come from. Kiva says growing together takes work that sometimes both parties aren't committed to. And I'm just going to go with, is marriage 50-50? So Kiva, I agree with you, right? The question, if you're listening, I'd love to hear, do you think, anyone out there, do you think that marriage is 50-50? And I'm going to tell you what I think. I think marriage is 100-100. You can't give half of anything. So both of you should be given 100.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want half of anything you got. I want all. So the same way, and look, if you were divorcing, you would want all of it. So in marriage, you should be willing to give all of it. So I do agree, Kiva, that people aren't willing to do it. But I think one of the things that I have been saying, at least for a decade, is that people enter marriage with escape route in mind. So this is not fire prevention week where before the marriage, you already decide where the exit is. I'm going to go here. I'm going to have that. I'm going to do these things. This is a covenant agreement that you make. Now, listen, please hear me. I'm not saying stay and be abused or any of these things. I'm saying to the core of working together, right? And really, really listening and hearing. From what I see, a lot of time it's really just communication coming this way. It's not landing.
Yeah. I also think marriage is a partnership. And in that partnership, these two people come together, but each one is a whole. So when you say the concept of 100-100, I agree with that from the standpoint that each of these individuals are trying to be their best selves.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as a God girl, my best self involves service and honoring God, and then family. And, so if these two people are strong and working together, bringing their whole selves into this marriage of unity, you should end up with success. But we know that there are times that there wasn't that alignment in the beginning. If there is ever, whatever your non-negotiables are, you need to honor them, whatever they are for you. For me, and Andre, when we decided to get married, our agreement was there was no out. There is no do-over. Every year we renegotiated the contract, and really every year we sit down and we reflect on our marriage. We talk about the good, the bad, and we recommit every year on our anniversary to another year. Mm-hmm. And it's really been helpful, especially for me growing up. My parents got divorced when I was 3. And so I did not have that model or example to look to see what it means to be a wife. But I was committed to this marriage and to it being a success. Mm-hmm. And finding that right person was important. It hasn't been, it's not easy, because life is not easy. Mm-hmm. But it has been more ups than downs, more joy than sadness. And I don't regret it. The life that I have with my partner, and I use that term, he's my husband, he's my spouse, he's my partner, he's my friend. He still makes me laugh. That was an important quality for me. Like when he walks in the room, I still smile. Mm-hmm. 25 years later, he can still make me laugh, So those, to me, it goes back to that foundation.
The foundation. So what do you do when there is no foundation? Will you change? So a couple things. I think Melissa said, I think growth separates people when their journeys were not aligned from the beginning.
I agree.
Which is interesting. Listen, I am a marriage advocate. So I always want to see people reconcile. I have a repair, revive, restore, revive couples initiative. This is what I think that should happen. Marriage should be repaired, and it should be restored, and the relationship should be revived. But I think it has to be a dying of self, because So Melissa, you're saying separate people when they grow separate people. I think growth separates people when their journeys were not aligned from the beginning. I think that is true, but we can have an aligned goal and then you go astray. Maybe it's drugs, maybe it's sickness, maybe it's financial, maybe it's family. And then what happens to those aligned goals that you had in the beginning? Do you give up on them? Do you quit on that person because they, fell into a hard time? How do you support your spouse in spite of and because of?
That is the work. That is the work. And you're right. You have to kind of move yourself out of the way. Sometimes you have to really dig in and say, I'm going to show up with that unconditional love. Mm-hmm. I've committed to this person. And sometimes that means letting go of the nagging and the nitpicking. For mm-hmm. example, I know when my daughter was young, I wanted the clothes folded a certain way, mm-hmm. right? So there's two choices. I could harp on it and say, oh, you're not doing this right. You don't do it right. Mm-hmm. Just don't even bother. And it could lead to arguments and just nitpicking, nagging, making your husband or spouse not want to be involved. Mm-hmm. Or the other option is to say, well, at least he's folding the clothes. He's helping me. He's being a partner. He's doing it his way. Mm-hmm. Your way is not always the right way. And that's with any relationship, but especially key with your spouse, because this person, remember, for me, I'm married to a man, and he views the world through his masculine lens. I see the world, and as my husband likes, what does he call them?
E-based.
What's that?
E-based.
Yeah, what is it?
Estrogen based. It's an estrogen based lens that we have.
Right. So, so that's another component of being in any relationship, but in a marriage, is the dance, as you talked about, knowing when to let your partner lead. And for me and you as God girls, our husbands are the leaders. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean we're doormats, but they are the head of the household for me and mine.
I'm not a doormat.
No, you're not. But you do need to let your husband lead, so
I do.
Yeah, so I do think that it's really important that as we do this dance, you got to know your role and know when to uplift this man.
Mm-hmm. So Melissa said, you can't repair things that were never meant to be together. Melissa, I'm going to tell you, like my old pastor from Maryland would say, Pastor Barney, he would say, if you let God do the picking, you won't have to do the packing. And so I have always loved that. I feel 100% certain that God picked Kyrie for me. I do agree that there are some things that just cannot be resolved. I counsel couples. I know it to be so. But it is still a challenge. And I'm always fighting for individuals. One of the things, let's see what Jessica said. Jessica said, I learned my husband's threshold. Yes, Jessica, for the threshold. For example, we went peach picking, not his thing. I appreciated he went, but also observed when he was done. He hung in there for a while, but then was done. So I respected and we left. It took a while to learn that. Appreciate the effort, but also know when to wrap it up. That is awesome, Jess.
That's gold. That is gold. And that is true. And to acknowledge your spouse when they do things for you out of that love, instead of, harping on. and we do that, right? As women, we're like, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have even came if you were going to ruin it. Mm-hmm. So that is key, to notice and acknowledge when our partners do that. Absolutely.
I think we do that also. For me, Kyrie, I love to play games. It's no secret. Board games, card games, anything. And I hate or don't like to watch TV. Kyrie likes to watch TV and hates or doesn't like to play board games. And so I don't even know that we get a good dance on that. I think for me, and we talk about this all the time, that is something that I wish he enjoyed. But I also know that, I mean, he will do it with me, but something in me is always like, oh, he's just doing it because, and then it kind of takes the enjoyment from it, instead of me just accepting the fact that he's willing to do it. So I sabotage my own good time with him because I know it's something he doesn't want to do, and because I'm a people pleaser. And so, sometimes he'll say, oh, well, let's do such and such. I'm like, you don't really want to do it. So I let him off the hook. But I really should be welcoming of his desire to participate. And Jess, I think that, listen, that is excellent. So for those who don't know, that's a great example of, of how to respond. You know their limits, pay attention, observe, and move.
Yeah. So we kind of touched a little bit on how we even address conflicts within our marriages, kind of being the person to reframe it. And I think our partners do the same. I guess just giving each other grace in any situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's odd. I think we both have the same testimony. Carrie and I, all right, guys, we're not crazy, but here it goes, have never had an argument. So we have been married 5,095 days, and we have never had an argument. When we talk to Dre about it, Dre says,
we have never had an argument.
And so I don't know whether we get this from our incredibly amazing mama, because Lord knows she's the best. But this is our testimony, combined 39 years of marriage, and we have never had arguments with our spouse.
Now, I want to define what we've never had an argument, but that doesn't mean that we've always agreed.
Absolutely.
We have had disagreements, but it was really important to both of us. So initially, one of the things that I think worked is we did have some relationship goals. We had some kind of things that we will not do, regardless, no matter how angry or how we're feeling. We had some things that we would not do. We will not yell at each other. We will never call each other out of our name. Never. Like, I don't care how mad, like, that's just not an option. I will never, we've decided to never humiliate the other person in, this period. It's non-negotiable. So we have some strategies, like we will take a minute, like I need to process. Let me come back to you on that. Right? Like you take some time to reflect and think. It's okay to vent to a sibling or a friend to kind of calm yourself down so that we can approach it from a rational place. So I think that's why we've never had an argument, and also no physical violence. But these were things that we agreed upon at the beginning, before walking down the aisle. And those were things that were really important to me. So
Jess just said, was that from the very beginning?
Yes.
And here go my man. Y'all see my man? Yes.
Hey, brother.
So for us, we may not always agree. From people who know me, and Dre always tells people, if you want your wife to change, send her to Kyrie. And Asia always says, if you want your wife to change, be more like Kyrie. So, what I can say is that Kyrie and I have had two kind of disagreements. The first one was over a fruit cup back on Broadway. If you remember, it was Asia's birthday, I think, or Cherie's, and we went to that place in Columbia to eat, like the Olive Branch or something. And we had come from church, and I was going to eat this fruit cup, little 4-ounce fruit cup. Kyrie had a no eating in the car policy. And so I go in the garage, so we're going to leave, and I get the fruit cup, and I go to open it. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to eat this fruit cup. Now, I knew the rules. I mean, it had been like 10 years by now. I never eaten a car before, but this particular day, buddy, I had to have a fruit cup. So I was like, I can't eat the fruit cup? He's like, you can't eat it in the car. You know, Dre is the same way. So he's like, you can't eat it in the car. And I didn't say a word. So you know, I probably stood outside and ate it or put it away. I don't even remember that part. But I remember that I did not talk. I didn't say anything, you know, or whatever. And that was kind of it. But that was like our biggest thing. And then this year during COVID, it was something I told him. I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do something. And I wanted him to be on my side about something, and he wasn't. And I was like, you're normalizing our marriage. You're making us look like normal. Why aren't you on my side? This was the first time in my entire 13 years of marriage that I felt like we had an opposing view. And I remember talking to, like, we didn't agree, and it was so stupid. Like,
and so what comes up to me, like what I'm really hearing is this was about you. This wasn't a disagreement or the alignment of the marriage. I'm just saying you knew the rule and you made it personal. Like, you knew the rule about the car and you wanted him to change. He's unwavering.
That's what we're doing here, Sean.
I'm just saying, I got to be honest for the people were thinking it. I'm just saying, we all heard it.
Okay. So in all fairness, it was about me. And so I will lead that into what my statement is about marriage. I do not believe, this is Sharonda, y'all go ahead and throw the tomatoes now. I don't believe that there are problems in a marriage. I believe that there are problems with individuals. Oh, do you see the peanut gallery here? There are problems with individuals, and they show up in a marriage. Listen, you can't sidebar on a live.
I'm saying, you just said it. There's not a problem in the marriage. There's problems with the individuals.
Yes.
And in this case, the same. Anyway, listen, I asked my sister for some quotes. And I want to, we have a new segment. Yes, we now have segments. I'm just saying. You know. So I asked my sister for some quotes, and I'm going to share the quotes with you. And I want you to explain for the people, give us some insight behind the quote. Now, you don't know which one I'm going to ask you first. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. The segment is Sharonda Speaks. Okay. And if you know my sister,
you just named the segment. You made it up. I love you.
I'm just saying. Oh,
wait, can we address Jess real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Jessica said, I once heard that no matter what someone does to you, it's never about you, it's about them. And when I played different scenarios, it worked out to be true. Jess, yes. I say this all the time. I say that when, and I learned this in 2005, I believe. I call her Mama now, Dawn Bly. I learned this lesson through her. And what I've learned for now the rest of my life is that I don't take things personal anymore. I was always, as everybody knows, taking things personal. You're right, LaShawn. I always felt that things were about me. Yes, Dre said I was abrasive, and I, was always crying if someone said anything. But I learned, and you guys talk about me now. Every single person that I meet is a victim. So it doesn't matter where I am or where I go. When I meet someone, in my mind, they have been abused, in financial strain, they're homeless, they're caring for a loved one, just got bad news. So I look at everyone as someone that has something going on. So no matter how they approach me or how they treat me, it's never about me, and I don't take it personal. And since I've adopted that mindset, I'm free. I no longer have to be a hostage to what people think or say or do to me, because I realize I'm amazing and that's their stuff. So what I do is, in that moment, no matter what it is, I'm praying, God, show me what to do in this moment. God, show me how you can get the glory. Because I've always had the propensity to pop off. However, as a God girl, a mature God girl, because I was a God girl then, I try not to. So
Yeah.
in my marriage, it's the same thing. In friendships, in relationships, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter how people treat me, their actions will never alter my character. So that's in relationships, in work partnerships, in marriage. My character cannot be altered by the actions of another. I am who I am, and that's solid.
And that takes growth. And that freedom is a mindset shift. And that is one of the so, I do appreciate that. And I do think it takes that internal work to become that evolved, to understand that it's not about you. And the stories that are running in our head, if we kind of tease them out, we can figure out usually is, yeah, it's not about us, it's about them. Empathy is what comes up for me. Empathy. Yeah.
Empathy. Yeah.
Okay, so here is the first quote, and then I want you to share with people.
Okay.
Ladies, if you're not filling your husband's tank before he leaves home,
Mhm.
he's bound to have to stop for fuel. Hashtag never let him leave on E.
Yes. So I always use this reference. I'm a road warrior, so we travel. And, growing up, times have changed. It used to be Amoco, BP Shell. And so there's this certain gas that you would normally put in your car. We knew back then you could only put this in your car or it's going to pucker, sputter, cut off, or not run well. I often tell wives and women that it's important for you to fill your husband's tank. Your husband is like your car. You want to make sure that the oil is changed and that the tank is full. And so if you're not his fueling station and you allow him to leave empty, well, you know what happens. The car begins to sputter, you get afraid, and the next thing you notice is that there's a sign that says El Cheapo gas. And so, you're thinking to yourself, dang, I hate to get this gas because the car not going to run right. And El Cheapo gas always costs more than everything else. It's just called El Cheapo, right? But what I know to be true is that we as wives have to pour into our husbands, because at the El Cheapo gas station is El Ladio, or I'm going to say it, Fluzio, or somebody who is going to fill his tank. I'm a little teapot is waiting at the gas station. So a lot of times women feel it doesn't take all that. He's weak if he needs to be poured into. Why do I have to validate him? Why do I need to say good job or thank you for pouring into the children? Thank you for providing for the family. Thank you for caring for me. Thank you for loving me. You did great today. I'm proud of you. Thank you for taking out the trash. Thank you for the yard work. Why is it? Because they need fuel. And when they know that they're appreciated and loved by you, then when they see El Cheapo gas, they're going to ride by it because they know the only thing they need is premium fuel. And at home, premium fuel is what they got. And if you fill up before home, sometimes you fill your car up, but then you like go a couple miles and you like, well, I'm gonna just get a little bit more because we almost, and you can't put anything in your tank. That's what happened to your husband. Fill his tank up so that when he needs to pull over on the side of the road, he doesn't need anything else in his tank.
And I'm gonna just throw just because we have just gotta say it for the people whose voices aren't heard. What about that man who his tank is full at home, but because he has his own stuff?
Is that, again, there's no problems in the marriage, there are problems with individuals? Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, I'm an advocate for overkill. Okay. So you just keep pouring because first you pray, then you pour. First you pray, then you pour. Somebody type that for me. No, first you pray,
Right. And then you pour.
I see Kyrie's message. We're gonna get to it, but I think it's essential. I pray to God. I'm one of them women, and I have shared it, that would be not Kyrie. Now sometimes I'd be like, I don't know if I could feel like that, because he be smelling good. Anyway, I digress. So, but I believe that you have to trust God to heal the brokenness in him. The same way you can trust God to heal the brokenness in you. So if he's out there and he's straying and he's trying, first of all, safety first. You don't want to be itching and scratching because he don't know when to start getting gas.
But I also think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, that initial foundation and alignment. I have heard women that try to, they know there's no alignment. The person that they have chosen to date, I mean, there are issues before they get married, but they believe that once I marry him or her, whatever, once I get into this committed relationship with this person, that will fix the things that were wrong before we got married. So I think, when we're talking about those initial foundational pieces, that's important. Let's not ignore them, women, or whoever, let's not ignore the signs that are there. If God, what did you say? Let God pick them?
Let God do the picking and you won't have to do the packing. That's Pastor Barney's quote. Now, I don't want Pastor Barney calling me.
Yes. Right. So
I got one word for that. You want it?
Go ahead.
There we have it.
Foolishness.
Foolishness.
Yes.
Listen, you can't change you. So you certainly can't change them. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going, I lost Kyrie's comment, but I want to go back to Jessica. Jessica, I'm not clear on what you're saying. So if you can put another comment, listen, you got to dumb it down for me. Jessica said maybe LaShawn can. Does this apply to wives and mothers, or do we need more or something different? Jessica, break that down for me and we'll come back to it. Kyrie says no topping off. That's right, baby. No topping off. When your tank is full, listen, if you grew up in Jersey, they say when we would pull up, we say, fill it up and don't top it off. What that means is when it stops, it stops. Don't you add anything else to it, because I'm not giving you anything else. So yes, baby, no topping off. Jessica said, is it really filled though? Jessica, that's an awesome question. I often talk about in therapy filling voids. I do not believe that voids can be filled, right? I believe that voids are there and they just exist. So is it really filled? There's different components of the love tank, right? So you have the emotional, the physical, the mental, spiritual, and I think that it's just like your oil, your antifreeze, your gas. So they're different things. And every now and again, yes, God, you have to go in and they do a fluid check, right? So they check all the things in your vehicle. And so that's what you should be doing in your marriage. You should be doing a check. So you should be checking how are you doing spiritually? How can I pray for you? How are you doing mentally? Are you okay? Are you anxious? Is work wearing you? I'm wearing you out, Lord. I'm going to just be real, because as a wife, I know I can wear a brother out. I am a lot. So sometimes I have to check in and say, how can I love you more? I've been asking Kyrie that. How can I love you more? How can I love you better? Because I am selfish at the core. I am self-centered at times. And so sometimes he's so good to me that I forget that I need to be good to him also. And I take him for granted and I take advantage of his goodness. And so that leads to me not filling him up. because I'm so busy letting him pour into me because of my personal deficiency that I don't take the time to pour into him. And I don't think that that is any different from any other marriage. I think that we get so caught up in ourselves that we forget that there is someone else in this. So, yes, Melissa, pray and then pour. Because at the end of the day, this covenant, this is a vow you made with the Lord. I tell women, if you got kids near you, move them. See, we actually have the P's mixed up. We think that the power in the P, that we can somehow control a man with this power in the P. And what I would like to say is we absolutely do, but that P is for prayer. And so that there is power in a wife's prayer. Like all you got to do is say, fix it, Jesus, lay it before him and it'll work out. You don't have to be mean and be like, he ain't getting none. I show him. I promise you, if you try to show him, he will show you.
Mm-hmm. And I think the note that I would like to leave, with and what I hear is, as much as you're responsible for acknowledging, you do need to know your partner's love language. So you don't want to pour into him in a way that it doesn't fill his tank. So you do need to know their love language. And then second, you need to pour into yourself too, because you are responsible for making yourself happy, not your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So yeah, so there's that too. So let's not mix the two up. Pouring into him with his love language and pouring into yourself are two different things. And I think happiness is a choice.
Okay, Disa?
Hold on.
Okay, Disa?
Yeah.
Did you understand me?
No, I don't speak your language.
Thank you. And this is what I tell people when I'm in the session, people start talking, I just start speaking Spanish. And then they look at me and I look at them and I'm like, why are you looking at me like that? Well, I didn't understand what you said. Well, why didn't you understand what I said? I said, because you're not speaking my language. Bam, this is the point I want you to get. You're not speaking his or you're not speaking hers. So the same way you didn't understand me, they don't understand you.
And that's what Jessica's asking us. Do husbands and wives need the same type of refueling?
What is your answer to that?
It's the love language. And what works for one couple won't work for another one. I think that's also important too. What works, like when you look at me and what we do, like my husband and I are completely non-traditional according to norms. I cut the grass, he loves to cook. So what works in one relationship or one marriage is not a one size fits all, because again, it's two people, 100% coming together. So you have to design a relationship that works for you. And I think communication is also an important one that I would leave with.
So you just said what works for everybody. I think that's essential too. Man, stop comparing your internal to someone else's external. You are looking at what's happening in your house and you're comparing it to what's happening on the outside of someone else's house. And you never really know what that truly is. I mean, listen, we all living with filters, right? So we don't even want you to know who we are regularly. You definitely don't want people to see who you really are. Yeah. The check-in, Jessica, I want to share this. Loving the check-in. I'm applying that. This is free. I'm not going to charge y'all. So grab it and share it. One of the things that I recommend is a marriage, a meeting, right? So the example that I give, it depends on what you have. Y'all tune in and share it. If you haven't shared by now, share, because I'm getting ready to give y'all some gold. Y'all ready? Okay. So for me, I used to love to iron. Okay. That's another story. But I would always iron Kyrie's clothes. And I didn't mind. I could iron 30 shirts at a time and it would be fine. However, if by chance one day Kyrie asked me to iron a shirt, you would think he just told me that we gonna be living in McDonald's parking lot. I lose my mind over things like that. The other thing would be if he tells me to do something. Listen, I got adult ADD, child ADD, all types of DDs. I don't know. But when he asked me to do something, somehow I always forget. So he could be like, Mook, did you make that call? Mook, did you do that? And I'm like, so I'm angry with him because he's asking me about something that I know I was supposed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so here is what I decided. Every family should have family meetings, the couples, the children. So this is the structure of the family meeting. Depending on how much business you have, that is the frequency of the meeting. So if you have children, your children join the meeting. The purpose is you will teach your children decorum, focus, how to have a conversation, how to have a meeting. The children also get the opportunity to speak. They speak about their needs. In this meeting, you talk about your schedule. You can have an agenda. The agenda doesn't change because God forbid you add something to the agenda and people see it. They're going to be like, well, what you want to talk about that when we meet? We got to talk about that right now. So you keep a standard agenda. On the agenda, the children show up, the children get to speak. You talk about scheduling. If you have children, you talk about scheduling, who's picking up. You get an understanding, allow the children to see the parents communicate in a way that is healthy and fruitful. And then the children get a task or get something and they get dismissed and you continue to meet. At that time, you get to talk about the bills. I recommend people having a joint email. So we have Mr. and Mrs. Ford, and everything business goes to that account. So we're both aware of what's going on in real time, and then we can discuss it. For me, this cuts out on the chaos. One of the hard things is when you have to ask your spouse throughout the week, did you do this? Did you make that call? Did you pay that bill? Did you pick her up? Will you pick her up? That's too much, right? But if you have one day set aside for a business meeting, then you have 6 days to love your spouse, because it's the business of the marriage that gets to be hard. That's where the nagging and the contention and the discord is sown. So when you're dealing with the finances and the schedule and did you and would you and you should have, save that for once weekly, once bi-weekly, and then love each other as much as you can the other 6 days. That's my tip.
I love that, the business meetings, and I can attest that does work. We often would do that with Mariah and with scheduling and conflicts. And so, what I
Mhm.
would ask everyone to do is, with starting any business or any relationship, I want you to go back to that first, like, initial, when you before you said "I do." Make a list, write a letter, reflect back on those early feelings, right? What was it that made you think that this was your person? What was it? What did you see in them? What did you admire? The smell, the scent, the day? Reflect. Take some time, write that letter. What was the reason that you said "I do"? What was the reason that you have committed to being in this relationship with this person X amount of time? And what is the goal? Like, what do you see yourself in 5 years with that person?
Mhm. I think goal setting and vision casting, we talk about it, we do it, um, is so essential. And I think it'll go back a little bit to what Melissa said, having those from the beginning. But I think, in the same thing like you, Sean, and I don't know, maybe we learned this from you guys. We've been doing it 14 years, so I don't remember. But Jessica is funny. But one of the things that Kyrie and I do, so, in a regular year, we would take at least 2 trips. One trip is our vacation, and the next trip is just our reset. So our October trip is the reset, where we look at everything we've done during the year. We look at the goals we set for the year, our finances, where do we want to be? What did we miss? What could we have done differently? What do we want to do differently? And so that is our reboot. And so we take that time to kind of, just like you said, reestablish. We don't really re-sign the contract because he already told me death will part us. So I mean, and that's why we don't even argue. When he say something to me, Tawanda can attest. Where you at, sister? When Kyrie say something crazy, I just be like, Everybody know I'm a Stepford wife. I mean, whatever he say, I just rock with it. Look, he know God better than me anyway. So I'm gonna just go with what he said. Okay. But I think that what's essential is really that give and take. That is what it is. What is it that made you love him? And how can you remember that? And to that, I think, so I encourage everyone, with your spouse, what I had to learn, I think this is a 3 year ago lesson, is that I started asking God, and you may have heard me say it, to help me to see him as the great gift that you gave me. Right. So I don't want to see Kyrie through my sinful, perverted, distorted lens, because I see him through the lens of judgment. I see him through the lens of who I think he should be or what I think he should do, instead of what God has called and purposed him to do. And it's very easy to do that. So now when I get ready to think, oh, he should have done, or why aren't you? I said, God, help me to see him as you want me to see him, because I didn't create him. I can't shape that man into whatever I think. I'm not a potter. No, I'm just Sharonda. I mean, I got talent. I make masks.
But let me tell you what, I almost feel like you could break that down into two categories, right? Things that either uplift the marriage or things that break it down.
Okay.
And so if we take the task or the thing, so you're saying, you're looking at your husband because he didn't do something. And if you say it in there, now you can hold him accountable, but I think we have to come from a place of, is it going to be uplifting or is it going to tear it down? Does it strengthen the marriage or weaken it? And I think when we start to reframe, and not sitting here perfect at all, that's not what that's not what we're saying. We're just sharing with you some perspectives that we are trying to adapt in our relationships, and it really is a mindset shift. And that's what I hear you saying, Sharonda, is that you have to shift your perspective.
And it is a shift in perspective. And that happened for me 3 years ago, right? Because I could come to Kyrie and be like, man, I think we should be doing this. Or I think that, or, whatever. Kyrie be like, that ain't what the Lord said. I'm like, come on now, come on now. God said that. You playing. But it is. And so we have to remind ourselves, right, that we are stronger together, that God has fused us for greatness. It's no secret. When I'm not around Kyrie, I'm not at my best. Right? There's something about him that empowers me to be better. And I'm so grateful for that. It takes me back to January 2003 when I had my last drink, because I was like, what is Kyrie gonna think about me? I felt I was disappointing him. This is even before I knew I was like, why do I care? Oh gosh, what just happened here? And I remember thinking, what will he think of me? And from that, I learned, don't let your good be ill spoken of. Stay away from all appearances of evil, and don't be a stumbling block. And I knew that in that moment, I was like, wow. And so he made me better. And I'm grateful for that. So I have to love him. And no, I'm not we don't have a perfect marriage. Y'all hear that? He wouldn't let me eat that fruit cup in his car 10 years ago. I'm holding on to that.
Now, wait a minute. You said you don't have a perfect marriage. Now, see, right there, that's a mouthful too, because I think a lot of people are striving for perfection. And that's a missed expectation as well. There is no perfect. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect marriage. There's no perfect children, the perfect home, the perfect outfit.
But there are the perfect shoes though, right?
If they sneakers and they got laces, like, for me, but we going way over our time, but luckily we have a continuation to be continued. So as we wrap up, I would leave everybody with this question to
wait before you leave your question.
Hold
on. We're gonna go 10 more minutes. So we got
okay.
Jessica said, am I allowed to take some credit? I'm gonna answer that. So this is partly what I believe. Our husbands were taught what women now expect. What I mean, listen, Jess, I'm glad you're telling me what you mean. What I mean is the emotional side, the physical side, the mental side. Our dads, speaking of my husband and mine, were manly men. Put a roof over the fam's head and kept it moving. We know and expect the other side of that, which they weren't taught. Right. So I think Kyrie's saying nobody. I just love him. And then Jessica said, I voiced my needs based on maybe what I saw. Yes, Jessica, from my parents' marriage and spouses. Love you too, T. Jessica, Jessica, what we weren't taught. So let me just say this, Jessica. I think it is essential. Okay, here we go. Because this, all right. Listen, if y'all have any final questions, y'all post them right now because Sean gonna hold us to the fire. Y'all listen, I kick it with y'all all night. No, okay. But this is what I'm gonna say. Jessica said that we were not taught. As a Christian, and I can only speak about marriage. Not I can. I choose to only speak about marriage through the lens of Christ because my marriage is centered and built on that. So this is what I would say. There are two things for me that define my marriage. Husbands love, wives submit. There are no contingencies. The challenge is that wives, we feel, first of all, that submission is dirty and weak and that it strips us of our power. And then we feel like, I mean, when we think of this, the full scripture, husbands love your wife as Christ loved the church. What I know about myself is how many times has Christ told me to do something or be something? How many times have I been obedient? How many times have I fallen short of what he's called me to do or asked me to do? And he still covers me, keeps me, carries me, cares for me, restores me. So my husband is expected to love me the way Jesus loves me. That's unbelievable. And the only thing that I'm required to do is to submit, to come up under him. Okay. So why would I have a problem with that? Well, I'm glad I asked. Women say, well, he's not doing this. He's not providing. He's not taking care of. He's not a man. He's not doing this. But there are no contingencies in that. So if you want, propose, claim you have a godly marriage, recognize that there are no contingencies. Submit in love is not quid pro quo. If he loves me, then I'll submit this for that. That's not what that is. So it doesn't matter. And Jessica, our marriages have to be built on the foundation of who we are and who they are. And there are no clones, right? So, and what your marriage looks like today, it may not look the same another day. Our marriages have gone through seasons, for us, like I said, we've had ups and downs, we've had miscarriage, we've had job loss, we have death, we have joys, we have celebrations and vacations and travel. We've had all of it. And we're standing on Christ, because without it, we'd be done. So that's how we love, how we marry, how we have to be. And when your husband isn't doing what he's supposed to do, give him to God. He will fix it. And then you'll be like, oh, Lord, can you please just ease up on the brother? Please, please, please. Because I don't really want him to go through all that. And then I will ask you who I am and who he is. Yes, and yes, Jessica, thanks. So here's what I will tell you. LaShawn's daughter, my amazing niece, Mariah, Heidi says, I would love to come up under my husband. I don't even know what now COVID-19 is, Kari. But
I want to talk about COVID. Oh, we need 5 more minutes because let me tell you. Go ahead, finish that thought. Kari, okay. Thank you, Kari.
LaShawn, it was Mariah and Asia's daughter Cherie were here 2015, and you know these teenagers, this is the time where everybody's in love, and so Auntie, right, thought that she should teach the kids a lesson, and so she made them memorize 1 Corinthians 13, love, and in it, whenever they would be having some level of art, I would call them out, so they had to recite it, and then I would be so when she took the dishcloth. Well, what was she doing? She did it yesterday. Well, tell me that. What keeps no record of wrong? And so I thought I was teaching them something. And so as I was explaining to them the scripture and getting them to understand it, God asked me, I'm like, come on, that ain't about me, sir.
What did he say? What did he ask you?
what he asked me is, do I know what love is? And am I displaying love? Am I displaying love in my relationships? Am I displaying love in my marriage? And I was like, God, this is not about me. Not right now, God. We're teaching these kids. God, you told me to teach these kids this, because I was clear on that. And then this is what he said. He said, when people say, I just don't know what love is, I'm just not really sure how to love, I don't know. He said, that's right. Love is patient. It is kind. It does not boast. It does not envy. It keeps no record of wrong. It is not arrogant or puffed up. It always hopes. It always trusts. It delights in the truth, and it always perseveres, and it never fails. And if you want to know if you are doing what you should in your marriage, then you should ask yourself, am I being loving? Am I being patient? Am I being kind? Am I being arrogant? Am I being puffed up? Am I boasting? Am I keeping record of wrong? Am I trusting? Am I hoping? Am I always persevering? Am I loving? And then as soon as you ask yourself, you can step back and be like, ooh, that wasn't right. So,
And what I also know is control gets in the way. A lot of times people are trying to control their partner into submission or into doing what they want. And so the only person you know limited control is yourself. So that
I like that, Sean.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I want to get to this COVID. Yes. COVID and marriage.
Oh.
So we are spending a lot of time right now because of COVID and because things are on lockdown. We are spending a lot of time with our spouse. And I think that's bringing up some issues. So we might have to touch on that next week, because that's a big thing. We have been busy being like working and busy. And so you really didn't have time to notice some things that now that you are on this lockdown, sister. I don't know about you, but quite a few of my clients have needed some extra mindset shifts around relationships with their children and their spouse.
Right. Well, the good thing is that they have children to distract them from their spouse. And I don't have that. And now that my sister has left, I did have Tawanda here, which was, I ain't gonna say it. I was good because I love her. Tawanda was here to keep me occupied. I think that COVID has unveiled some things to people about their marriage or relationship. For one, especially in the beginning, COVID meant that the side chick was really going to have to be outside, right? And so that meant that you really had to come home because hey, I'm just keeping it what? Yes, all the way real. COVID, that's what that meant. And so people were now seeing behaviors they were not used to. I think 6 and 1, half a dozen. I think some marriages have been restored because people were running from their spouse. Yeah. And now they got a chance to get to know their spouses again. And I think that for anyone, if you have a thought of quitting, see if you even know who your spouse is. But before that, see if you know who you are.
Yeah. You know, I say take an internal audit. Take an internal audit first.
Internal audit.
The side chick has to really stay outside. That is hilarious. I do also think that along with the side chick staying outside, there are some women who may have had a side piece. So let's not make it that only men cheat, because there are women do it too.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we, sister? Huh?
Benita said, "Yep, saved mine." Y'all have any more questions? And Benita said that when I told her about the power of the P, I think I missed it. She rolled her eyes at me. But I share that with everyone because I know that it is a thing. I love you, V. I'm always here. I would tell anybody, I don't give advice. Advice is a column. If you want it, read it. but certainly I will guide you in the word. And so the word says not to withhold sex from your husband. And that's what I encourage folk. Sex is for communication.
It is another form of communication and commitment too. And so
And
I think when
commitment.
women use it as a bargaining chip,
Mm-hmm.
what do you like? We can kind of end on that. What do you think about women who use it as a bargaining chip?
Well, you want the mucka or the mental health?
Give us both.
I think for women who are using, Kyrie said, in recreation, communication and recreation. Yes, honey. Tom,
I used to burn a lot of calories. You could
listen,
really get a good workout.
I'm gonna have to go onto the playground. No, um, yes, love it. Vanita's crazy. So I love you, V. But here's the thing. At my ADD, what was the question? What you say?
Using sex as a bargain,
Okay, right. I got
withholding
it.
sex, withholding.
Withholding sex. Yes.
Withhold.
Um, and so I think that for women who misappropriate their body, it comes from a place of pain and trauma. And so if you feel that sex is a tool, likely you have used it as a tool before. Someone has used it as a tool against you. And so I encourage people, you have to understand and deal with the trauma of your body in order to be free with your body. And men and women alike have struggled with that. And so if sex has gotten you what you want in the past, you will think that it will get you what you want in your marriage. Prayerfully, your marriage is sacred and solidified to a point where sex is not a bargaining chip. But if you would just position yourself.
I'm sorry, but we talked about sex and you said position. But go ahead.
Okay.
Position yourself.
If you would position yourself to be open to ministering to your spouse, right? Intimacy, into me you see. If you can make yourself available, listen, women, we're not wired the same. Men touch it and it's ready. Women, you got to marinate it, bake it, prod it. It's a job here. For some, you got to work very hard. I'm gonna save this for the marriage after dark part. But so women, you have to get ready and get your mind right for your husband. So whatever you need to do, remember that this is what you committed to. You committed to your job. You may not like your job or your boss, but you show up. You don't quit your job. In many cases, people stay on jobs 20 and 30 years not liking it, but they leave their marriage. They stay in places or friendships that are toxic, but they run from their marriage. Sex will bind you together easier than it can tear you apart.
Yeah. Alan, you see, can you share Alan's message? Do you see it? Alan says it's usually about manipulation and reward. And again, that goes back to trying to control somebody.
It is control. I will tell you this. You want to control someone, give them good sex. Don't withhold it.
I also think it goes back to communication too, though. So
talk about good sex.
No, not just talk about it. You got to have the good sex, but I think there's usually a underlying issue in the relationship.
It is, and so ask your spouse, Man, Sean, because you made me think. Oh, you didn't see that. Okay. So ask your spouse what they need. I dare you. I dare you to die to self this week and just, whether you're a husband or a wife, die to self this week. Um, Selena just popped up in my, with I dare you to die to self this week and give yourself to your husband, okay, or to your wife. Whether you're mad, whether there's discord, free yourself of that. And you know, if it's healthy, if it's safe, if it's healthy, you know. But if you're let me rephrase it, if you're using it as a bargaining chip, I dare you to try and not use it as a bargaining chip.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Absolutely. I think it's interesting. And we are past the time. It is now 1:30. I mean, 1 hour and
So
30 minutes.
and Vanita, listen, I know you talking about that part all night long. You got all them new yoga poses. You probably poor Toot can't get no rest.
If your children are in the room with you, I do apologize. I do apologize. I do apologize. So, one of the things that we talked about was going back in time and reflecting on what were your goals for your marriage when you were engaged, writing a letter, scheduling that appointment. Those are good practices. Family meetings, we talked about that. We talked about removing yourself out of the way. What do you want to recap for us today, Sharonda?
And there goes your husband. Do you want to answer his question, Sean, before we go? Are you blushing?
He does that to me.
Is that what he does?
Yeah, you can feel free to. I'm finished for tonight. I'm done.
Oh, look at, so between Kyrie and Dre, do you see Kyrie? Listen, these two. All right, so let's go with Jessica. Here's what I would say. I would say do a self inventory. What is it that you're missing in your marriage? And how can you get it? We're gonna have to block I'm gonna have to block the comments from me. But seriously, what is it that you're missing in your marriage and how can you get it? This is not just about your partner. This is also about you. When we ask those questions, how can I love you better? How can I love you more? What do you need? Those are important questions for growth. I think that having that communication, if you're in a place where you can't communicate with your spouse, then I encourage you, get a jar, put a jar and put your thoughts in the jar.
No, I didn't know what you was putting in it. I was so nervous. I mean, because your brothers talk about use it often, use it everywhere, and then you get a jar. I was like,
okay, so just this is a sign we got. Right, Jessica. Lord, I don't even know with Vanita, Sonia. Y'all got me distracted. I'm not playing with y'all. Get a jar. If you feel like you can't communicate, put your thoughts in the jar. Put your thoughts in the jar, and Vanita, who be holding out? Put your thoughts. Sharonda Ford be holding out. Oh, okay, I got you. Put your thoughts in the jar and then find a way to just communicate. Take one thing out, talk about it. If you need some tips, inbox me. I am a marriage advocate. I do have a repair, restore, revive marriage intensive that I talk about and that I do I don't even know if Tawanda means I'm gonna go back to
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm not sure, but
I
we're
love
fantastic.
y'all. Thank
Love
y'all.
you. Listen, thank you all so much tonight. The conversation was great as always. I'm not even sure what we can tackle next week with marriage, but we will continue. So if you have questions, Sharonda, what
Yes.
if someone wants to join us? Because we have a perspective, but wouldn't it be nice to hear other people?
Yes, it would be great to hear other people. So I already know there. You know who's missing tonight is Nevada. We have to check on Veda. Um, but I know that we have a couple of people who have already said they want to be on the marriage relationship series. Um, and so I'm excited about that. You can email us at what's our email address? Sisterchatlive at gmail.com. Oh, there's Nevada. Hey, Veda. Yes, Veda's here. Missed you. Had to make sure we checked on you. But you can email us we'll put the email address in the comments, but I think it's sisterchatlive at gmail.com. And if you're interested in being on the panel, I do anticipate that this is a 5-week series. So
Yeah, it really is. And I want to make sure that we tackle divorce, separation, can a marriage survive infidelity? Like, there are a lot of topics to marriage. Tonight, we were just sharing our origin stories a little bit.
can a marriage survive infertility?
Can a marriage survive infidelity?
I know marriages that have not survived infertility. So yes, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but you're right. So there's so many topics. I know we're calling it a marriage series, but we are interested in hearing multiple perspectives. So, separation, divorce, children, empty nesters, and we're interested in engaging with some of you who have some of you who have joined in and also have some perspectives to share. We do have an email set up, and we look forward to anybody who would like to join us.
Yes. And if you like our Sister Chat mask, stay tuned to find out how you can get a Sister Chat mask. And we are going to conclude. Sean, any closing?
Yeah, just communication, prayer, and don't look for perfection because you are not perfect. So that's what I would say.
And I would say pray then pour. It doesn't matter whether it's your marriage, whether it's your personal, individually, whether it's, if you're single, if you're dating, if you're waiting, right? If you're divorced, if you're separated, if you're estranged, if you're unsafe. Listen, if you're in a marriage and you're unsafe, inbox us and just put Sister Chat.
Yeah. And, utilize all of your resources. You can work on yourself, right? Remember, we said marriage is two people coming together, right? So if you have a partner and some of the things that are bothering you, let's start with you. Don't run immediately to, couples therapy, and don't wait till it's as a last resort. I hear that a lot too. The marriage, they've been fussing and arguing, and marriage is like, we're ready to leave, but we're going to try one last thing. You don't have to wait till you think the marriage is almost over to pour into it.
Absolutely. Pour into yourself and you'll find that the overflow will go into your marriage. Yes, I like that.
Your marriage retreat.
No, yes, I saw it. You can read V's comment.
What did you say? You have been a volunteer for one retreat, but maybe she's asking for you to host your own. We can do a virtual retreat though.
We can
definitely do a virtual retreat.
Y'all down for a virtual retreat? All right. So Jessica said good night. Yes, Jessica, we're going. But I'm going to leave this as the see you next week, Jess. I'm going to leave this as the pour into yourself and the overflow will pour into your marriage. All right. So good night.
Good night.
And let us know if you want to join the panel. Bye. Oh, Vanita said yes. Melissa's on the panel. All right, guys. Good night, Veda.
Good night.